Hey, it's Amber, and welcome to season 3 of Politics But Make It Fashion. Come chat with me. Hey guys, happy Sunday. Hello. I missed everyone last week. I hope that you guys had a great President's Day long weekend. Hopefully you got some rest, had some time off, and enjoyed it. So I had a pretty great week. I had the honor of being in the Northeast Pennsylvania Business Journal. Caitlin McMahon, she wrote a wonderful article about me called Women's Unique Venture, Touting Important Subjects. It was in obviously the Northeast PA Business Journal, but it was such a nice article, and it was such an honor to be thought of in a way of being an entrepreneur and a businesswoman, I guess, So that was pretty dope. Right now we have the final stretch of the Times Leader Best of the Best 2024. Politics But Make It Fashion is in the top 5 podcast of NEPA. So make sure you guys go vote for us for Best Podcast. Voting ends February 27th. And I will put the link in the show notes for everyone. So I had a really tough week going on because I had the death of a roommate from the Navy. She was my pretty much first and only roommate that I had aboard the Abraham Lincoln. We were stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and we lived on a ship for a while. And then once we were able to get barracks rooms, we got barracks rooms, and they were in Portsmouth, Virginia. And so me and Howard were roommates together. And sadly, she was killed. And they just released kind of the information and things to the press on the 21st, but she was killed over Valentine's Day by her ex-boyfriend. And, it's just a really, really sad, terrible situation. I mean, the details are honestly disgusting, and thinking about it seriously makes me sick to my stomach. He wouldn't move out of her house. Which is something that just stuck with me because I've been in that situation before where you're in a terrible abusive situation and you're trying to get out of it, and all you want to do is kind of move on and be able to start over, and your ex-partner refuses to leave and refuses to move and basically just kind of wants to make your life absolutely miserable. And it's just so sad. And we've lost so many people from the Abraham Lincoln who I knew on my time there to suicides and just random deaths and things like this, which is just horrific. And it's just really sad. I pray for her family and, just wish them peace and the best. And I think part of the saddest part about this whole thing with her family is that she's a veteran and her family is now struggling to raise money to pay to move her body because she was living across the country and trying to move her body home. That's the last thing that they should have to be worrying about. That's the last thing that should really be on this family's mind. And it just goes to add one more thing to the list of ways that we treat veterans terribly, because there's no way that there shouldn't be something for her family to use to be able to have her body sent over instead of them trying to raise $10,000. It's just really, really sad to me. And it breaks my heart, and it just makes this whole situation even sadder, because you're not able to grieve because now you're going into crisis mode because you're trying to figure out how to get everything together. Also, I want to add that, people, you guys really need to have life insurance. And I'm talking to millennials and Gen Z here, because a lot of us die and our families then struggle to pay for our funerals, our bills, all kinds of different things that need to be handled. And you're never too young to have life insurance, and you don't need to be like ill or anything like that, but you never know what could happen, and you want to protect your family and your kids and all of those good things. So I will be having a guest coming up soon that will be talking about life insurance and how important it is to have it at a young age. And it's specifically geared towards millennials, because I was just talking to one of my best friends, and he is in the reserves and he's also a state trooper. And he was like, yeah, both of us are probably the only ones out of our friend group that have life insurance. And I was like, yeah, definitely, because both of us were military and come from military families. So that's something that is kind of like really standard in military households. So some updates. Ukraine, they said that 31,000 soldiers have been killed in the past 2 years since Russia invaded them, and thousands of civilians have also been killed as well. And that's sad, and that's just ongoing. And if you guys watched the interview with Putin and Tucker Carlson, one of the things that Putin clearly said is, he believes Ukraine should be his, and that if that America is kind of in the way of that because people are helping them and sending them weapons. And he basically said, if y'all stopped helping them and sending them stuff, then like I would just wipe them out, which was wild. Like, we know he feels that way, but also it was so snarky and just a really wild thing for that man to just come out and say. The Gaza death toll rises to 29,692 as 86 Palestinians have been killed over the last 24 hours. 69,879 Palestinians have been injured since October 7th. And this is according to the Gaza Health Ministry. So we have Super Tuesday coming up with the election here in the States. Trump won South Carolina's Republican primary by 90%, or not 90%, I'm sorry, by 60% of the vote. Nikki Haley, that is her home state, and she lost because she doesn't seem to know what side she is on and what she kind of stands for, because she's going back and forth. And I feel like with her doing that, she's lost either side of it, because it started off okay, and then she just started saying stuff that was just a mess. Nikki Haley, girl, we know why the Civil War happened, okay? All right. So she said she's going to stay in it because she still feels like she has a path to victory and is a better choice than Trump. So we will continue to see what happens. There is another primary coming up on Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday is Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is when there's going to be multiple primaries held in multiple states all on the same day. So it's just like a really, really big primary. So did y'all hear about Trump's sneakers? Guys, okay. Because first of all, okay, because these sneakers are so ugly. All right. Anyway, SneakerCon was in Philly last week, and former President Trump released his new sneakers. They are called the Never Surrender. I'm going to just say that again. They are called the Never Surrender high top sneaker, okay? They are $399. So that pair of high tops, along with there's two other pairs of low top sneakers, and there is a $99 bottle of Victory 47 perfume and cologne. Okay. So, hey, get your Christmas stockings ready, guys. And that's all available for purchase on his new website. Apparently, the shoes sold out. Some man got like bid on them and paid $9,000. So now that this man has released these shoes, he is really out here just talking out the side of his neck. Okay. So now he's Fox News is talking about some black people will vote for him because, and I quote, we love sneakers. And that we will think it's cool and it's part of the culture. So that's why, so he's going to get the black vote because he released these sneakers. Okay. So during Black History Month, okay? During Black History Month, Trump is now being a mess because he came out with these sneakers. He said that Black Americans will relate to his criminal prosecution. My mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot, and you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The Black population. It's incredible, Trump said. It absolutely is incredible. Okay, it's incredible that you would stand up somewhere with your orange face and say this because this is a mess. I'm not even done. All right. I got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said, that's why Black people like me because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. Okay. They actually view me as being discriminated against. It's pretty amazing. Trump, you are not being discriminated against, sir. You have been charged with 91 felony counts, including RICO charges, conspiracy to obstruct justice, falsifying business records, trying to threaten everybody. Boy, be quiet. And then he was up there talking and saying that at some rally the lights were too bright. And he said he could not see anybody out in the audience except for Black people. Now what, this Black History Month has been exhausting because I'm telling you, like, what even? So yeah, so if you need to see the sneakers, like you have to see them because they're so ugly. Um and this is just honestly ridiculous. And for people to think that Black people would just vote for this man because he came out with the sneaker is absolutely ridiculous and also kind of gross. Um, because, people care about more stuff than just that. Black people aren't idiots. And Black people have been discriminated against. And know what's so crazy is any other time he's talking about how there's no racism and there's no such thing as racism or discrimination. But yet, when he needs it to work in his favor, now all of a sudden he has some camaraderie with Black Americans because he's also been discriminated against. So which is it? Is discrimination real? Is racism real? Or is it not real? Or are you like one with the homies because you have felonies? Like, I need him to just really go sit down. There I talked about this a bit on my on a TikTok for Politics but Make It Fashion, but Next Benedict had died after being beaten in a school bathroom in Oklahoma. And that state has a lot of very, very hateful anti-LGBTQ plus anti-trans laws in that area. And this poor child was being bullied, being threatened, being harassed. They told the administration that this was happening, and the school did nothing. They were beat up, and instead of them being taken to the hospital to get looked over, instead of their parents being called and notified, they suspended them for being in a fight, even though they had their head bashed into the floor multiple times. It's just sad. And even now they release the dash cam footage and you see a police officer speaking to Next while they're in the hospital. And the officer is just being so unkind and non-empathetic at all. And it's like, trying to basically blame it on Next that, they brought this on themselves. And it's like, if you're being bullied and harassed, and I know so many people listening can probably understand what I'm saying. And this is something that it took me a really, really long time to learn. But when you're being bullied and harassed, you know that if you react or if you do anything, that you're going to be the one to be blamed for it and you're going to be the one to be in trouble. And I just remember having to deal with microaggressions and racism in school. And I would get mad and then I would flip out and then I would be the person who would be in trouble. And it would always make me so mad and angry because people would see my reaction and see my anger and my hurt, but they would never see what the person did to you to bring you to that point. And that is what was going on with this child here is these girls had been harassing them and threatening them and bullying them, but then when Next lashed out and I guess she like poured a cup of water on one of the girls. So now they're saying that they started the fight. They initiated it. It was their fault. And that is just, bullshit. And it's just such a lame excuse. And I feel so bad. And I know that kids that are getting bullied in school and different things that, that's the same old story that everybody's heard before. Once you finally decide to try to stand up for yourself and to try to defend yourself, then you are the one who ends up being in trouble with it. And that's just terrible. And I'm sorry, if your child gets in a fight, the school should call the parents and let them know. And if it's bad enough, then they should make sure that child gets checked out by like EMS. Because wouldn't the school want to do that anyway, just to limit their liability? Because you never know what could happen, because people can have traumatic brain injuries and issues that you cannot see on the outside. And I believe like the police officer even told them when they were in the hospital bed, like, oh, well, you don't look beat up. Like, first of all, you might not look that beat up right after you got beat up, because that's not the way bruises and things work like that. But so what? So maybe because you don't have a black eye now, that means that you weren't beat up? No. It was just really, really sad. And you really just felt the pain for this poor child, because like no one was on their side. So many people failed them, and now want to try to blame them for the situation that's happening. It's never going to be fair to me for a bunch of people to jump one person. That's just not going to happen. And I believe the girls were older than Next as well. So wait, did y'all hear about this guy from the Navy? So his name is Bryce Petitici. Petidicini, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he was a petty officer in the Navy, a fire controlman, and he was assigned to the USS Higgins. Well, this guy just got charged with espionage. He was based in Japan. The US has charged the Navy sailor with espionage for allegedly providing classified materials to a foreign government, which is so crazy. I haven't really heard a lot about this. So he is accused of passing documents to an employee of a foreign government at least 7 times between November 2022 and May 2023. He is suspected of mishandling classified documents and information. And by the mishandling, they mean like taking it. The incident remains under investigation, and currently they're going through all of the legal process. So we don't really know for sure what government he was allegedly colluding with. But he delivered multiple documents that were labeled like national defense and different things going on with the Navy, which is very, very strange. And this guy, like, he just looks so normal. But yeah, I guess he was committing treason. Earlier this year, there was another sailor who was 26 years old, who was sentenced to about 27 months in prison for accepting thousands of dollars in bribes from Chinese intelligence in exchange for providing photos of military information. So I don't know if a lot of people really know this, but in the military, one of the biggest things that will get you in trouble is like financial issues that you're having, a lot of debt, which is really crazy because military people really be having a lot of financial issues and a ton of debt. But if they find out about it, you can be in trouble because the assumption is that if you have issues going on, then you're easy to bribe because somebody could come and say, hey, we know that you have a lot of debt, so we're going to give you 10 grand if you get us pictures of this information. So that's definitely a part of it. And I've seen people lose their security clearance because they were in such bad financial situations that it was deemed to be a risk. So then they weren't allowed to handle or be around any like classified material or information or anything like that. I just thought that was super strange. So, lastly, something that I just wanted to kind of hit and go over, it is Black History Month. And some of the most common things that I hear every single Black History Month, and it is so annoying because if you're going to hate something, if you're going to say, I hate Black History Month, why don't we have any other history months? How hard is it for you to look that information up to make sure that you're right and to justify your train of thought? Because every year I hear, well, why do we have Black History Month? Blah, blah, blah. Why doesn't anybody else have any months? There are 12 months in there are 12 months each year, right? And each month has a theme and also has like a heritage. Black History Month isn't the only heritage month, but yet it receives the most hate. I wonder why. I also hear, why don't veterans have a month? Well, I think that would be really easy for you to find out if you went to your Googles and just looked it up, and you'd see November was declared as Military Family Month. There's National Military Appreciation Month. There are different months. There's Women History Month. There's Arab Heritage Month. There's Asian Pacific Islander Month. LGBTQ plus month. Disability Pride Month. Hispanic Heritage Month. Native American Indigenous Heritage Month. Like there's so many other months. Our next month is going to be Women's History Month. So if you're going to talk about why is there a Black History Month and why isn't there other months, it's really easy to go back and to really to look that up. Other things I've heard is the Black National Anthem. It was sung at the Super Bowl, and a lot of people are saying that they had never heard it before, blah, blah, blah. Just because you have never heard of something doesn't mean that it's new. It's new to you. The Black National Anthem is not new. And you have people saying that the national anthem is for everybody. There's only one anthem. Well, the national anthem has more than one verse. And literally the second verse is about a slave. So I'm just not really sure if we want to say that it was like written for everybody, because low key it was not. Lift Every Voice and Sing has been sung in the Super Bowl many times, and it's been sung at different events, sporting events. Um, it's been around since the 1900s. It was written by a man named James Weldon Johnson, and the piece of music that it was written was actually considered to be a hymn. Lift Every Voice and Sing was written and popularized decades before the Star Spangled Banner became America's national anthem in 1931. Something else I hear a lot is why are there black colleges? And, it's racist. And if there was white colleges, people would be in uproar. Well, the reason that there are historically black colleges and universities is because black Americans weren't allowed to go to the other ones, like Harvard and Yale and some of these old schools, William and Mary, that have been around for hundreds of years, did not accept black people, so they created their own schools. So historically, black colleges and universities are public and private institutions established before the Civil Rights Act of 1964. From their inception, HBCUs have gifted Black people with access to education, which had been denied to them during slavery and continued during segregation. These institutions provided a safe place for them to learn, discover, and to build a community. The first HBCUs were founded in Pennsylvania and Ohio before the American Civil War, with the purpose of providing Black youths who were largely prevented due to racial discrimination from attending any other college and universities with a basic education, and trained them for some to be teachers, doctors, lawyers, and also for some of them to be tradesmen. The institutions that did allow Black students, they did not do well at these institutions because there were significant gaps in their knowledge and college readiness. And they also were treated very unfairly and often would not do well due to discrimination as well. Everyone has always been able to go to HBCUs. It has never been a time where they have not accepted white students. They've always been acceptable to go there. There's white students who have been there then, and there are white students who go there now at this time as well. So it's, really free to Google and to look things up. And those are just some of the top main things that I hear every single Black History Month. Um and and it really is just lazy to me because you could easily look up the information and there's no kind of like cognitive dissonance to say, well, the reason that BET was created was because MTV would not play Black artists and hip hop music. VH1 would not play Black artists and hip hop music. CMT would not play Black artists and hip hop music. How hard is it to be able to see and understand that instead of saying that this is racist because we don't have white music television when we literally did? We all grew up watching it. I grew up watching MTV as well. I grew up watching TRL. And I remember the discord even just back then about how Black artists were treated and not played, and their music videos weren't played as well. Like, it's been an issue. I mean, it was an issue for MTV to even play Michael Jackson. They had to fight for that to even happen. So then how do you not understand why there was another music channel that was created that catered to those audiences and those artists? It's just, it's just irritating. And so those are just some of kind of the major things that I always hear about when it comes to Black History Month and all of the extra racism and extra hate that we receive during this time of year. So, thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Politics But Make It Fashion. Come chat with me. So make sure that you guys vote in the Times Leader Best of the Best 2024. Vote for Politics But Make It Fashion as podcast of the year, and voting ends on February 27th. Make sure you check out my article in the NEPA Business Journal as well. That is out now. Make sure you give us a subscribe and a like, leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at Politics But Make It Fashion, on TikTok at Politics But Make It Fashion, and we are on Instagram at Politics But Make It Fashion 1, and we will chat soon. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is a short story about my time in the Veterans Affairs Hospital on a voluntary 72-hour hold. I was falling down a rabbit hole, and I could no longer see the light or a way out. I reached out to my VA therapist to discuss my crippling depression and anxiety. This journey through involuntary hold was marked by humiliation, broken promises, and a profound sense of vulnerability. My path towards seeking help was extremely challenging. Despite the setbacks faced, I hope my journey will lead other veterans and anyone else facing mental health issues to the care and the support that they might desperately need. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is available on Amazon in paperback and on Amazon Kindle.